Have you ever wondered what the best places in the world for you to live, work, meet your love interest, or write your book are? Is there really a way for us to know these things, or is it just a feeling we have? Helena Woods joins Mystical Sisterhood today for a fascinating conversation on how your astrology chart, where you were born and what day and time, can show you the locations in the world where you will thrive. Helena is a Hellenistic astrology practitioner who specializes in locational astrology. We get into what exactly this means and how you might benefit from understanding the places and land that will support you in all aspects of your life. We also talk about Helena's coming out of the broom closet, owning all parts of herself, and creating community that cares for one another in new and collaborative ways. This is a must listen to episode, so let's get into it. Welcome back to Mystical Sisterhood. This is your host, once again, Maureen Spielman, and I'm sitting with Helena Woods today. And I'm super excited because I was just telling Helena that, I can't remember the how of how her name came to me, but I find so often when I find someone organically that I begin to tap into and say like, oh my gosh, like not only would they be a great guest for the podcast, but I trust that intuition and
Yeah.
that like universal force or something that brings
Yeah.
me to you. So I just want to say welcome and I'm excited about our conversation.
Thank you for having me on. This is such an honor, and I'm so excited to talk about such a fun topic.
Yes. And you're in Paris and I'm in
Yeah,
Chicago. And I
amazing.
have a feeling that being in Paris has to do with what we're going to talk about today. And I think that we can talk about a lot of different things, but locational astrology, what's been referred to as astrocartography. And now I believe you have another term you're using, new wave astrology movement. But can you share a little bit about where you're landing right now, about how you refer to your work and what just the nutshell of this big outer shell of what it's all about?
Yeah. So I'm an astrologer first and foremost. I am a technique-based astrologer. I'm a Hellenistic astrologer. So I love the ancient practice. I got into Hellenistic astrology in 2020. And so I use timing techniques. I read charts, solar return charts, all the things. But the specific branch of astrology that I uniquely specialize in is called locational astrology. And locational astrology is basically the big umbrella for the astrology of place. And there's different categories within locational astrology that are different things. So astrocartography is one element of the umbrella underneath the bigger scope of locational astrology. And so I help people thrive and shine by looking at their chart, adding in the astrocartography map, and then also reading relocation charts to help people find their best places to live, travel, work, meet people, host retreats, write the book. I help people find their best places for different things.
Okay. So that's really cool because I have done a recent interview as well with a trio that's starting their own podcast called Astrology Off the Charts. But Lisa Hagenbuck was saying that she views our astrology, what we're born into, I should say, is like a map of our soul, a map of it's like the owner's manual you never got. So what I'm hearing you say is with that kind of reference point is that you go it's just a directionality for this chart that you're born into. And it refers to like, where do I most thrive? And
Exactly.
I want you to talk about a lot of different things because I think when I was preparing for the interview, I was thinking about like even taking my kids to visit college campuses. They're in their early 20s now. And there's places that you think that they're going to like, and they're like, no, not for me. Or my daughter went to college in California for a year. We live in Chicago. Mom, this isn't for me. And we think it's because of certain things, but could it be for other things that we are not really aware of at the time? Like, yeah, it's just not the place you were meant to learn. Or so I'm fascinated by these intuitive hits that we have around vacation we might take that we're like, yeah, no, it wasn't my place. Or I just went to Munich, Germany, and I felt somewhat at home there. And I didn't expect that at all. So just these like knowings we have about places, or I'll tell you a funny one. I live in the Midwest. I grew up in Indiana, and it was about 45 minutes from the Lake Michigan shore. And my girlfriends and I would get in the car like on weekdays and drive to the beach and lay out, as we did back then. And I think people are still doing now, but lay out and have a good time. And it's funny because now as an adult, it's about an hour and a half from where I currently live. And I've never had my own deep desire burning to have a house there. Yet it's a very popular thing to do. And it makes me think about something like locational astrology. Like
Yeah,
maybe
there's
it's just
something
not
to
your
it.
place.
Exactly. There's something to it. And, there's little details to a map that can kind of show you whether a place is better or worse. And they're specifically called parent lines. And parent lines are at a latitude. So like, San Francisco will be different from Los Angeles because San Francisco is more north. So even like a 30-minute drive, an hour's drive can significantly shift the energy. And so if there's something that stops you from going somewhere, there's a reason for it. And I'm a big believer that everything is perfectly timed. Everything is mapped out. We can't get this life wrong. We can't mess up. We're perfectly on time. And our astrocartography and our timing to our birth chart is showing us what's happening and what will happen.
Okay. Well, obviously, having a professional reading done is beneficial. I was with a girlfriend last week and two friends, and the one said that she has gone to an astrology site before to check out like where these lines lay for her. And so I went and took like a rudimentary look at that. Guess what? I had no idea what I was looking at. So I'm just going to say, like, I want to do a reading for myself just so that can be interpreted. Because for me, it was just a bunch of lines.
Yeah.
But one thing I thought was funny is that they did not intersect in the Midwest of the United States. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been living my whole life there. And I don't even know if that's an accurate interpretation at all.
Well, yeah, there's so much more to it than just like the astrocartography lines. There's also local space lines. There's different techniques that you can use. You can still get so much information, even if you don't have any astrocartographies. There's a ton there. I like to think of astrocartography lines as power lines. They're very powerful. They're very influential. You go really close to one, like within 100 miles. It's like you're turning the dial up tenfold. It's like it's making it very loud. And for some people, I don't recommend being super close to an astrocartography line because they are very intense to be right on one or to be really close to one. And you still have what's called a relocation chart that's going to show you the story and the energies of that place too.
Oh, that's cool. Now, I saw with regard to the energy of the land you just referred to, I read somewhere, I think it was in one of your Instagram posts, that the way that you stumbled upon this field was listening to, I think, a podcast or something about Earth vortexes. So something about that brought you alive and you're like, wait, what?
Oh yeah. I was traveling. I had just moved to France. I was traveling through Amsterdam. I was listening to a podcast and it was an episode on Earth vortex places and places that hold energy and power. And so I was listening about like Maui, and there's these different parts of the world that like Mount Shasta that concentrate all this energy. And I was like, oh, that is so fascinating. It just completely like lit me up. And I was like, I wonder if we have like our unique places that are like specific to us, like our chakras or something. And so I went down a rabbit hole on Google, started searching the internet, found the term astrocartography, and I never looked back. I was obsessed ever since. And it's crazy because when I started looking at my own map, I've been traveling the world since I was like 18. I started, taking megabus rides across the US. I would take Amtrak trains across the US. I would backpack Europe and go to Asia and all this stuff. And so I had all these experiences of things that have happened to me when I've been to different places. And so when I looked at my map for the first time, it was spot on. It was like the hardest experiences were on the very difficult lines. The most joyful places are on the easiest lines. It's just so cool.
That is very cool. I can see how it just brought something alive in you at the, like you said, like the exact right time in your life. And so,
oh yeah, it was a Jupiter return. It was a Jupiter return. I had Jupiter. Jupiter takes 12 years to come back, and it was right on me. And Jupiter is about travel and learning and growth and being on like the great cosmic quest of life. It was so perfectly timed.
And is it true that it could not be that you were not in the mystical arts before this time, that you were doing a completely different job, or had you been working in the field?
Oh, well, for work, I had been doing something else, but I've been into astrology since 2011.
Okay.
I've been
Okay.
doing astrology for a long, long time. And then it wasn't until 2018 I found about astrocartography. So it took time.
It's the beauty of when things like really started to surface too, right? But you had been laying the foundation, and I love to think about. I've been doing this for 3.5 years, so I've
Uh-huh.
met many intuitives and people working in mysticism, spirituality, whatever you call it. And it's given me this great seat to see just how, like, when did people start? And I've read that there's waves of people coming in. And I kind of look at like, oh, that's so interesting. You started in 2011. That's sort of like how this awakening of the greater, like the more, the broader perspective was brought into your life. And I think that I love it because I like to see patterns in how you are almost like, what do you call it? Like when you're mobilized, you're
Mm-hmm.
getting mobilized, and it might take years of study and practice and everything, but then to like launch
Yeah.
and do what you're doing.
Exactly. And that was 2011. And that was when Neptune first entered Pisces, which was the generational shift of the people, the collective getting into mysticism, spirituality, astrology. That was literally the time when it started. And it
Mm-hmm.
kind of reached a high point in like 2018 to 2020. And it's cool because now we're seeing a new wave of like astrology come in, but it's like, okay, meeting personal development or meeting like using astrology as a tool. Like that's kind of I see where we're going with the industry and where like it's going to go in the next 14 years.
Okay. Yeah. Because you probably have a nice pulse on just different parts of society and what the younger, like people in their 20s and 30s are doing. And then I'm sure that all sorts of, or all different ages are
Mhm.
attracted to the work you're doing. And
Yeah.
that's the one thing that's because I've got a background in my coaching. I've studied a lot of different things, but it started with conscious parenting, which is always like the parenting of ourselves, really, in order to consciously parent these next generations, and then what was called spiritual psychology. But I've
Cool.
been around the block and like all the things. But the thing that's really dawning for me now is that we are all sort of working on clearing our
Yeah.
own personal kind of what we've carried ancestrally, generationally, all of the things that have blocked us from our highest. And that it's very important that each generation, in a sense, takes on these roles. And that also you can have someone who's 22 guiding someone who's 60. And, just this reciprocal nature of how there's a new alchemy, how we work together.
Absolutely. Oh, that's beautiful. And I believe, when you find that tool that you love or that the way you want to express to help support other people and you find it, it's a body knowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I've done this before. Like for me, when I found astrology, it was like, it just felt like the easiest, most natural thing. And when I got really into my deep studies, it clicked. Whereas, like, really quickly, like looking at human design or
Mm-hmm.
numerology, they don't click for me. They're super hard. I've been trying to study human design for like 6 years and none of it still clicks. And I'm just like, well, it wasn't like, it's not my thing. And we all have those things and they just
Yes.
feel like a coming home moment.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And we have to be able to be okay with that, right?
Yes,
If it's not
yes,
the thing that came
yes.
to you, because you've got thousands of other people that when they discover astrology, they're like, this is not my thing, because
Yeah,
there's a special art to it. That's
yeah,
all, that's all that can be said,
I
because it's
know.
complex, but for your mind,
Yeah,
maybe not.
yeah. And, it's all based on our birth chart. Like our Mercury placement shows us how we think, how we process information. So, like, I was on an interview the other day and the woman was saying that, like, she tries to get into astrology, but it's so complex, whereas she's a tarot reader
Mhm.
and she loves that kind of more symbolic, the imagery, the illustrations, whereas like all the geometrical patterns and the degrees, it's like, it's overwhelming. So we all have our things, and it's about paying attention to the call and
Yes.
the thing that excites us. I always like to
Uh-huh.
say, follow your excitements. What are the things that like get you excited to start the day, that make you excited to read, to take a class? Like that's what you should lead into.
Yeah, that's beautiful. With locational astrology, I want to ask you some more specific questions, but
Yeah.
how have you seen it affect people's lives? Like
Astrocartography.
what are some changes that people have been able to experience and awakenings they've been able to have through it?
My favorite stories are always the love stories. Like I love when I can tell a client like go to this location at this time, or like set your dating app profile to this random state like Montana, or like somewhere really random, and then they meet their partner, they get engaged. One of my clients is about to have a baby, and it's just like I met her when she was single, and it's just
Yeah,
so cool.
that's
Like those
magical.
stories are my favorite. I've helped so many clients find their partner. But I also love the stories where it's like someone has a major career line where they're going to have more ease and success in terms of visibility or growth. Like they're seen and recognized more. And it's when I can recommend that they go there at a time when the transit is really supportive for that, and it's like an opportunity just happens for them. Like they'll get, a show or a gig, or they'll get like a gallery viewing, like some museum will display their art at the exact
Yeah.
transit that hits that career success line. It's so cool to see how things manifest for people, and it works consistently, which is really cool.
So it's almost like maybe it's different than when you first started putting it out, but when you began to read the charts and say like, "Oh, trust yourself," like, "Oh, this is something," and then you
Yeah.
get the feedback saying like, "Wow, was it?" So, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure that each time you get the text or someone coming back to you with like, "You'd never believe what happened," that you're just like, "This is so cool."
Yeah, exactly. I love those stories. And I also love the stories where like you're flying in midair. So you're on the plane and you're watching the map, like the astrocartography map on your computer while you're tracking the flight midair. And it's so cool to travel across these lines and then see what happens, or how your mood changes, how your focus changes. So, like, what you're doing, you might be like doing one thing for a few hours, and then suddenly you're like, your mood or your energy shifts, or like you want to do something completely different. And if you pull up the map, your plane has just left that other line and is now
That's
on
cool.
like a spiritual
Yeah.
line or something. It's really cool to watch that too.
Oh, and I'm thinking about those maps when you fly over, when I fly to Europe and then I'm
Yeah.
going over the Atlantic Ocean. And I've been next to my younger son, I know, because sometimes he just like zones out on the plane and that thing's up the whole time. And
Yeah.
we'll see places that I'm sure is not by accident that'll be like, what are those islands? Or, you see places that
Hmm.
they're brought to your attention that you've never considered in your
Totally.
entire life.
Yeah. And the really cool thing too is when you can time your trip. So like
Mm,
you pick a good moment to leave for the airport so that you have the best trip possible. That's called electional astrology, which is it's a different niche. We won't go into that. It's kind of complicated, but it's really cool to like use different timing techniques so that you're going to your best places at the right time.
hmm And when you zone into a client, are you just kind of energetically zoning into like, okay, I'm sensing this is what they need, and you can kind of like pull in the different tools and
Yeah. So
suggestions?
what I like to do is I have like an intake form. So I like to, write down a list of like what are the things they're looking for. And then we'll talk at the beginning of a consultation. I'll just get a sense of where they're at in life, what they're worried about, what's going on in their life, what they want, what their intentions are. And then I'll look to their chart and see what is happening in their chart. And the chart is just a reflection of what they're feeling in that moment. So I will then look to the timing and see when the moving planets in the sky, when they're affecting the birth chart in certain ways, I'll then tell them where to go based on all that information.
Yeah, I love that. When you've been referring to some things, the different lines you look at, maybe you can go into that. And I had heard this term ley lines, and I
Oh
think
yeah,
is that different? Is that
that's that's
with
different.
within the
Yeah,
family? That's different.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
because that feels almost like this general thing that's referred to here and there that I have no idea exactly what it
yeah,
is. I love what life is serving up right now because for all of us, and even you probably working deeply within this field, that it's like you hear something new, like, oh, I haven't heard that before, or oh, because there's so much coming to the surface for
hmm.
that's been kept quiet for whatever reason for many, many years.
It's really cool to see how big astrology is. It's getting into the hands of more people. And astrocartography came out in the 70s. And so Jim Lewis, who is the creator of astrocartography, he like made the maps in the 70s. And it's really cool because when he came out with astrocartography, there was a specific planetary movement that was happening in the sky. And we just got that again recently for the first time since then. And it's happening right now. And now astrocartography is getting so big. And I'm like, oh, there's the repetition. There's the repetition of Saturn, Neptune.
So do you have a lot of people coming to the table like, oh, I'm interested? Because I know you do trainings.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
teach all my students. And I have a lot of clients that then want to learn this for themselves because they're like so fascinated by it. And so I do have a course program called Locational Astrology that I teach everything on all this.
Oh, that's cool. So then the layperson can, I mean, you can use that. You can either be certified or you can use it for your personal life.
Yeah, you can use it for your personal life or your readings. And I have a lot of people who are feng shui experts. And so they love to take this program with like what they do.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so I'm going to ask about the lines, but I also saw when I was looking into you that when you began, maybe you kept a quieter profile, but at some point you're like, well, wait a minute. And I liked how you said I came out of the broom closet.
Yeah.
Because it's not, it's just like such a cool way to refer to it. But what was that turning point for you where you're just like, you know what, this is what I'm meant to do? Or what kind of happened in your psyche that you're like, it's time to come out fully around what I am passionate about?
It's wild because at the time that I launched my astrology business, it was November of 21. By that point, it had been like 4 years of studying astrology personally, like more in depth. And it was all I could do in my free time. Like there comes a point when if you're spending all your free time reading, taking courses, reading articles online about astrology or whatever it is you're passionate about, there comes a moment where you can't hide away from that anymore. And for me, I was actually doing something else. I was doing YouTube. I was making like creative short films about one's intuition and slow living. And it was like these beautiful, like artistic films to help people connect with their heart. And so it was really like very creative. But after about 2 years of it, I was like, I'm ready for something new. I've said everything I wanted to say. I don't know what else to talk about, like with these videos. So I went into meditation and I opened up the Akashic records. And I don't know if you work with the Akashic records, but I said the pathway prayer in the morning. I was sitting on my yoga mat and I just asked, I said, what do I do next? I feel stuck. I don't know what the next thing is. I feel like I'm leaving this. What's the next thing? And it was very clear. It was, you need to talk about astrocartography online. It wasn't, you need to start a business. It was just, you need to talk about this online. And it was so clear. And I was like, okay. So I closed the records and keep in mind, I'm not doing professional astrocartography. I'm just like researching it, taking classes. I had taken lots of classes on it. I had given like free readings to my friends and family, but like I wasn't, doing this professionally yet. But I was like, okay, I'm going to start making content. So I started making content talking about my own astrocartography experiences and my travels and my friends' experiences. And then I started doing more and more readings. Like people would keep telling their friends, or I would do a podcast interview and I would get one reading through that. And I just kept sharing. Like every week I would share something new. And within 6 months I was full time.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's crazy because that's what happened when I started showing up online on YouTube. I was really afraid of being seen and being on video and talking on camera. That was like a big fear I had. And I remember there came a moment, it was the end of 2019. I remember sitting on a park bench and having this like moment of realization, of I cannot hide anymore. I have to share my voice on camera, online. And so I started with YouTube. And what's crazy is I went into the Akashic records then too. And I asked the records, I said, what do I do? And they said, speak online. And I said, what do I speak on? And they said, what you know. And I was like, okay. And then so I closed the records and I was like, what do I know? Well, I know how to live a slow life. Like I've learned how to live a slower paced life because I moved to France. So let's talk about that. And so I just started making one video a week. And over time, it grew. And then the following grew. But it all started from the Akashic records.
That's
Isn't that
amazing.
crazy?
Yes, that's such a beautiful just message for everyone in that, because I think a lot of our voices are coming online, and they are,
Mhm.
and we kind of show ourselves the way, and then you
Yeah.
asked for guidance, and then the guidance can come through in these different ways as well, and you trusted it, right? You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm willing to dip my toe into the water a little bit more. And I know for myself, because I've been doing this for 3.5 years, and it's all like this gradual of showing, like it's like a flower blooming, of showing
Mhm.
yourself more and more. And like with each expansion, it's like, oh, I'm still safe. Oh, I'm okay. Oh,
Mhm.
that's the perfect people are coming, or whatever it is. It's just,
Yeah.
I think so many of us were conditioned that what we had to say maybe there wasn't space for it, or wasn't worthy, or whatever someone's story
Yeah.
is.
And so
But
we have to give ourselves permission. Like
yes,
it's then on
yes.
us to do that for ourselves, because you never know what could happen if
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
decide to start and you keep going. You never know what could happen. Doors can open for you. Like one of the biggest blessings that I have in my life from posting online was all the friends that I've made. I have so many friends now. I had like no friends when I started on YouTube. I had no one to talk to. And I was living in France. I had kind of ended a lot of friendships before I left the United States. And so I was like really isolated. And one of the biggest blessings has been by showing up and sharing my unique self online and not allowing myself to dim my light.
Mm-hmm.
My people found me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just think you can make more money. You can express yourself. You can heal your inner child that felt unloved, unaccepted, unseen. There's just so many benefits to showing up and sharing your light.
That's beautiful. I love that. It's so good. And when people, I'm sure when people work with you, it's not just, oh, Helena does the locational astrology, XYZ. It's like the person you are and the
Yes.
qualities you bring. Because I even
Yes.
think I would say to any listener, go to your website, because your website holds like almost like a frequency of vibrancy. There's
Wow.
always your guaranteed color. You're
Wow.
guaranteed. It's not like, I wouldn't put the quality like luxury. You might, but like it's just this vibrant, colorful, abundant energy that's coming through. So
Yeah.
that's the all of it, right? However, you might, but that's like what I get. And that's an interesting thing too, to I'm sure have that reflected back to you, because I think it's the age too of telling our fellow person, my God, this is what I love about you. And this is what's
Mhm.
so great. And this is what and that's, I love that aspect, because I think we're really moving into that. And I think that, there's all sorts of mirrors in that. So
Yeah.
thank you for showing up as you are on your website and bringing that vibrancy to life, because it's
Yeah.
inspiring.
Yeah, and I think for any of you that want to be, business owners, or you want to start showing up online, it's like when you lead with your personality and like who you are as a person, and then you share the offers around you, it gives you the flexibility and adaptability to move and pivot as you age and like, go and you enter new seasons of life and you want to do different things.
Yeah.
It's good to be able to have these other options so that when you decide to pivot, you can. And then also it helps you feel less resentful when you like feel stuck in a box.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we decide like I'm going to be this person that does this only, we really pigeonhole ourselves and put ourselves in these boxes, and then over time we really get resentful of that because our audience for many years just sees us as that one thing. But when we want to expand and grow, we're going to feel like we can't. And so for any of you guys that want to show up online, it's like lead with your heart first and then let the services like surround your heart.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I sense an adaptability to that. I want to say some practitioners that have been around for a while, that they have sometimes it's seemingly a harder time shifting out of the box they were in,
Mhm.
the one thing they did, or the one thing. And I've heard them say like something's happening and I don't know what. And I think if anything, and maybe this has to do with the locational astrology too, is like, if anything, we're really being asked to be adaptable, be
Mhm.
able to shift, be able to roll like in the flow, in a way of not giving ourselves up or abandoning ourselves, but following that kind of like river flow. I don't know, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, it's like following those nudges, that call, and moving down the river, allowing life to guide you,
Hmm.
trusting yourself in your path. And it's crazy because when you feel the call to go somewhere in the world, you're going to go. You're meant to go when you're meant to go. If there's something that's stopping your trip, you're not meant to go at that time. And the astrology just confirms it because you can see it in the transits. If you're going to go somewhere, you're going to go. And it's cool because places activate stories within you. So like when I was living in the United States, I had met my husband on my relationship line. And then I moved to France with him and the story shifted. It became less about relationships and it became more about finding my purpose and finding like the thing that I wanted to be serious about. And it was also the other story that came up because these are the lines, right? The Venus IC line, for instance. Venus is about home, pleasure, love, romance. And I have it on the home and family life here in France. So there's this sense of like loving where you live, loving the place, feeling really connected to the culture in your home life. But then I have Saturn on the ascendant, which is like, okay, Saturn, which is structure and responsibility, finding your purpose, becoming an expert in something, is on you and your identity. And so that's such a cool like example of how when you go somewhere else, the story can change. And you can change your story at any time if you want.
So do you sometimes see people either saying like, I'm going to go vacation there more, or I'm going to like, this comes up in a reading in the information they get. So they're going to vacation there, or maybe even buy, a second home there or a home there if they don't have one.
Yeah, exactly. They can definitely do that. Buying different homes, going to school. There's so many great reasons why you might want to connect with an astrocartography line.
Okay. So you've got all those ones. What other ones come to mind? You said the Venus line, the relationship line.
Yeah. So when you're looking at your map, what I recommend, and you could get my free astrocartography cheat sheet if you go to helenawoods.com/cheat sheet. It'll give you a rundown of all the lines and what they all mean, all 48 of them. So let's say, for example, we talked about Venus lines being really pleasant. We also have Jupiter lines, and Jupiter lines are representative of faith, hope, potential, possibility, travel. So they're great places to like go to school or travel and connect with a different culture. They're also really great places just to feel good and like feel confident in yourself and feel happy. So Jupiter and Venus lines are some of my favorites and the ones that I usually recommend people.
Okay. Do you ever have, or will it ever be that within a family that there's similar lines going on?
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, for instance, like one person might have an astrocartography line that's on them, and then another partner, the other person will have it on their partner. So they're like swapping the same line, but like one is on them and then the other's on their partner. So like one has a relationship line and then the other person has a self line. And so they're swapping stories in the same place.
Right. I'm sensing infinite potential with any of this, with what you can discover. Yeah. So, okay. That's really beautiful.
And with families too. Like I have a lot of families that come book readings with me, and it's like 4 people, 5 people.
Really?
And they all have like certain parts of the world where they're all really beautiful. Like it's all solid.
Yeah. When you're referring to your own coming up through just expressing yourself and what you're here to express, and then you were talking about like using your voice. And then I also had seen like just the fear of the backlash. Like, okay, what's going to happen if I do this? But I get the sense that you pleasantly found possibly mostly the opposite.
With what?
With regard to just like the feedback that you got when you decided to really own what you're here to do for now.
Oh, like my passion and like showing up. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'll never forget the time I went to Iceland and there was an eclipse. And eclipses are moments in the year when they're massive accelerators of fate. They change course, like new things start, new things end. And they pivot your life. And I went out to Iceland and there was an eclipse that was hitting a planet in my chart. So I went out to Iceland where that planetary astrocartography line was because I wanted to experience the full like gamut of it. And that trip, I let go of all of my fear. The fear of being bullied, the fear of being, ostracized by community, the fear of backlash. And there was a lot of grieving, a lot of crying during that eclipse. But I remember going to the airport and feeling like I'm going to walk away from this experience a different person. And I did. I literally left. I went like 10 times bigger. I changed my style. I like up-leveled in every way. I went viral soon after that for the first time on Instagram. It was like when you have those eclipse moments, they change your life. And when you decide to lock in mindset wise, sky's the limit. Anything can change for you, but it is about the decision to
Ooh.
also lock in and
Okay.
choose.
Okay. And we've got a big one coming up
But
a
yeah.
week
Oh,
from our recording. I think
I'm
it's good because I think you'll be in the next week following that because I'm not sure how long the energy lasts, but it's a full solar eclipse on the
Yeah.
12th, I think.
Oh, yeah. So it's a
Yeah.
Leo solar eclipse on August 12th. It's at 20 degrees Leo. I have my career point at 19. So, like, this is hitting my career exactly. And I'm like, okay, we are getting ready for something new that's going to change completely in my life. And yeah, so this eclipse coming up, it's all about being you and shining as your true self, because Leo is all about leading from the heart, being authentic, sharing you, so that when you shine, everyone else can shine around you too.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
there's something that's really inspiring about Leo. And so if you felt this fear of being seen, this eclipse is going to shake you up on August 12th. And that's the first seed. That's the new beginning. Once we plant that seed August 12th, we're in like a kind of a window of opportunity for about 2 weeks until August 28th. We're going to be in the thick of change, and doors are going to open, doors are going to close. All you have to do is just watch life. You don't have to fear it. In fact, I recommend going easy on yourself, like enjoy your life, because things will just start changing and new opportunities will start presenting themselves. And then it's going to have a ripple effect for 6 months after.
Ooh, that's beautiful because there's been a lot. It feels like I was just saying when I was with these astrologers, like when the year of the fire horse came, and there, you read so much about these phenomenons that then it's like, oh, it's all going to happen at this small period of time. But then I felt like I think this year has really proved to me that it's an elongation, and I've personally felt that I think sort of like May, June, July were more intense months. They were definitely. And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought I was supposed to be like riding the fire horse, but
yeah, May, June were easy. Well, May, June were more chill months. July was an insane month.
July was a crazy one. Yes.
In terms of the astrology. Yeah.
Okay. Because I just felt personally that there were so many emotions coming forth from me that I had probably buried for God knows how long.
In July or
July. July.
Oh yeah, July was insane.
Yes,
oh my God. Everyone had a difficult July because
wow.
It was a Mercury retrograde in Cancer, and Cancer is like so emotional, and Mercury retrograde is like thinking about emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting that it was felt. I've talked to friends, but I would just personally experienced it very intensely. But I feel like as I entered August, that there was like all of a sudden it felt like a clearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love astrology so much, because it's like a weather forecast. It's just telling you what's happening.
Yeah, that's so incredibly exciting. Are there elements of the local or what? Let me not ask that question. I'll ask about, I think I saw you referring to what you're calling the new wave astrology movement.
Oh, yeah. So that's a new thing I'm doing. And it's about community. It's about bringing people together. And one of the things I've noticed over the last year is there's a lot of people who like to target other astrologers or other spiritual practitioners. There's a lot of bullying in the astrology community, unfortunately. And I kind of realized, wait a second, it's time to fill in the gap and make a new style of like community. And so conferences, I'm going to start doing and that's what this whole eclipse is about. I think it's because I'm going to like lock in a venue during this eclipse for the conference that's going to be next September. But it's essentially this idea of let's make astrology fun. Let's preserve the techniques. Let's preserve the tradition. Let's make it mainstream. Let's make it alive. Like, let's bring some zest and fun into this space.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. And it's going to be no one's done conferences the way I'm going to do it. It's going to be so freaking fun. And people from all over the world are going to come together. We're all going to interact with each other and make things together. And it's going to be this immersive experience where we all get to shine. And I feel like, I went to a conference recently, an astrology conference, and it's just like, there's like kind of this old way of doing it, which is like, just kind of like going to college. You sit down at a desk and you just take notes, and that's cool. I mean, I love learning, but let's like make it more applicable, approachable, and accessible to the mainstream. And so that's kind of what I'm on a mission to
Yeah.
bringing people together. And it's going to be retreats, conferences, all the things.
Yes, I love that because it's the old way of being in any sort of competition or criticism is that is falling away. And I feel like the creation that you're putting into motion is going to be this beautiful new container. And
Yeah.
isn't that it's so neat to think that we as creators have that ability. I always love when it's said you make something that's unmanifest. So it's there. It's like in the ethers. And like I love the other part of it that's like if if you didn't act on it, which is a choice too, if Helena got this download and didn't do anything with it, it will go on to someone else. And
It
it would
will.
be,
Yes.
and I think that can be both a little daunting and but then a little amazing because it's like, okay, that's a big opportunity to move into. But that idea that what you're creating is unlike anything that's ever been created before. And
Yeah.
even if the woman or man next to you created it, it would be totally different.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because it's going to have your own style, your own original flair,
Yeah.
like it'll always be original if you put you into it.
Yes. Yes. And so has it been easy for you to keep stoking the creative fire and putting yourself out consistently, or do you also need the times of rest,
Mhm.
or have you learned to read your body more and kind of follow your own rhythms about your needs as you're creating so much in the world?
Posting publicly online and creating is as easy as breathing for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't need breaks because I have very strong boundaries. So like if I need to take 2 days off, I take 2 days off.
Yeah.
If I block people relentlessly too, like people who leave mean comments, I just block people every day. So like it's almost like I have such a good relationship with creativity, my boundaries, posting, sharing my life,
Yeah.
that like I don't need to actively take breaks, but I do have like stop starts. So like I will take a 2-month break from launching or like teaching a big program, and then I'll go hard for 2 months. So I take these like breaks. So like I'm going to take off January, February and March next year, but I'm going to go hard now in September. So
Okay.
that's kind of how I that's my own
Yeah.
system and way I do things, but not everyone can do it, the same way. We all have our own body ways that we listen to ourselves.
Oh, that's cool. Yes, but that's a huge permission you're giving yourself of when you think about the old way of the 9 to 5, the Monday through Friday, and that's like, whoa, no, I can do my work in these shorter bursts, periods of rest. So we're just shaking everything up really and being as productive in a way. I mean, some words are just going to fall away or the way that we had the relationship to them.
Exactly. And it's
Um,
trusting that.
yeah, it's trusting that. So with you, I had a question that would have been more towards the beginning of the podcast, but were you led to Paris before you knew that Paris was a good place for you?
I've always felt the call to Paris, but like the goal was never to move there. My
Mhm.
husband applied for jobs all across the world and he got one offer and it was for Strasbourg, France. And so
Okay.
we moved to Strasbourg, France. We lived there for 2 years. Then the pandemic hit. And then it was, well, do you want to get citizenship? Because if you stay 5 years, you can apply for citizenship. So then he started applying to other jobs. And then we moved around to Corsica. We lived in Metz. We lived in Biarritz. So we lived all over France for the last 8 years. And then we finally settled in Paris. Like that was
Oh,
kind of
wow.
the coming home moment. And so we actually moved to France just because of his job. And it was from there, it was like he would get different job opportunities and we would choose it based on the astrocartography.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And so with that being said about France, that's really cool. Is there something calling you, a place calling you next, or what's in your future? Or where do you see this conference being? What's coming up?
Oh, California. Southern California is calling my heart. And it happens so out of nowhere. And it's like when you feel that calling, you just got to go. And so I'm going out for this eclipse to see what is this going to start. And I think I want my base to be Paris and Los Angeles. Like I want to go between those two spots.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah. And that's where the
Okay.
conference will be too, is going to be like LA or Orange County, California.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Now, I think I saw that currently your schedule's full. I don't know for one-on-one readings. Is that
Yeah.
still true?
Right
And
now it's full until January.
okay. So people can get on a wait list and
Yeah.
everything. And then
And also,
it's,
you can get on the
yeah,
wait list. And also, if you wanted to book a reading as soon as possible, you can check out my Rolodex. I have like a Rolodex of readers that have been certified through my certification program. And so they're professional readers and they do readings. So you can get a reading with my top students on that Rolodex page at helenawoods.com/Rolodex.
yeah. And I really love that model too, of sort of a little bit paying it forward in a sense.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
yes, you know that they've got your stamp because they've studied with you,
Yeah.
but also that's how we grow. That's how we really flourish,
Exactly.
or one avenue. And I think
Yes.
that whatever I'm up to here, I know that so far, I host people in this space I'm in right now. I'm just possibly going to create bigger events, whatever, but I know that it's not dropped in yet. So I guess like one of the last things I want to ask you is like, how can we intentionally sit for this eclipse coming up? What are intentional ways we can approach, whether you think it's the eclipses or the full moons, or, but I'll just take the August 12th solar eclipse right now,
Yeah.
to really be intentional around it, to really get the juices out of it.
Yeah. The best way to use this upcoming eclipse in Leo is to connect with your inner child. Allow your inner kid at heart to play, whether that's dancing, putting on music and like listening to your favorite songs that you grew up with, putting on a cute outfit and dancing in your living room, painting, making a video, expressing yourself in some way. And then I would also make time to journal on the areas that you want to be seen more. So do you want to be
Okay.
seen in your relationship more? Do you want to be seen online, publicly? Do you want people to see your creativity? Where in your life do you need that luminosity or that light to shine on you so that you can live so connected to your heart and remain true and authentic to your deepest desires?
Yeah. Gorgeous. I love
Yeah.
that. And I
Yeah.
think everyone is wanting to be in the playful, joyful energy and counter anything out there that is saying, there's other things you should be focused on. It's like there's nothing more important right now to get in touch with the inner self that's just ready to really enjoy this life.
With Leo, it's all about play. It's
It's all
all
about play.
about fun and children and childlike sense of joy. If you have kids, like really connect with your kids this new moon.
That's
It's exciting.
great. Well, I think that's a perfect, unless you think that I've missed like core things that you're teaching that you want to share before we kind of wrap up.
I would say one of the things I'm really passionate about right now is teaching people my right place, right time method. And so what it is it's this combination of, okay, we have the astrocartography, we have the locational story, the place, but what if we added timing? So like, when is that place being lit up? Then what if we added mindset so that we're locking in energetically to our manifestations, what we're calling into our lives? And we're using both the techniques of astrology with our mindset. So this is like my method I've created, and I'm teaching that live inside Fate Accelerator. So if anyone does want to join, we're going to be doing one-on-one hot seat time. So you can come up, and that's, a way like if so, because people can't get readings with me right now, you can join my classes and then I'll work with you one-on-one in our live class calls to answer your questions and look at your map and all of that.
It sounds like fun and educational. So when is that one happening?
That's in September, last 3 weeks of September
good.
and first week of October, always on weekends in the evening, France time.
Okay, that's beautiful. Yeah, I love hearing about creations, and just like for my own work is just like sharing and just, putting it, because it speaks to people, and
Yeah.
then follow your heart. If it's speaking to you today and you're curious, even if it's just for a reading or sitting in a class or even discovering if this is for you. I know a lot of people are coming alive. And that's what I was going to say too. When I look at the generation of those in their 20s, I'm kind of struck by how many of them might have sort of a day job, but they're really interested in these side interests and
Mhm.
even turning them into businesses.
Yeah.
And that's amazing because it must be following some soul path of some sort.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going into this time of great creativity
Yeah.
and sort of like Renaissance like in a way.
I
Hmm.
love it. Oh, here for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So thanks for bringing the energy. I find you incredibly inspiring. And I think that the way that you energize even the sharing of the information is very like attracting and just a beautiful model. So thank you. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on, Maureen. This was wonderful.
You're welcome. Any parting? I always ask like a parting message for humanity, for any generation that comes to mind about anything that's coming to you. I'm not even going to define it.
Romanticize your life more. Like, bring in the simple joys, the simple pleasures into your everyday life. Dance with life and romanticize your life more.
I love that. It's a perfect place.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you to the listeners for being here, and we'll see you in the next episode. I'll put all your information in the show notes and on Instagram and all the
Perfect.
places. So
Thank
thank you,
you.
Helena. Thanks for listening to this episode of Mystical Sisterhood. To learn more about my one-on-one coaching programs or join the Mystical Sisterhood membership, visit maureenspielman.com or mysticalsisterhood.com. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next episode.